Welcome to Janet's Planet, where we're traveling at the speed of thought. Come on in, you guys. Today, we are so very honored to be speaking with Commander Chris Hadfield, who was the first Canadian to go for a spacewalk and the first ever Canadian commander of the International Space Station.
One question I have is, what advice would you give to kids like us that want to be astronauts like you?
The thing to think about is there's a big difference between want to and turning yourself into. You know, it's not like so they're just going to someday say, we want you to be an astronaut. And you go, oh, gee, I had no idea. I never thought of getting ready. Instead, it's more like my dream is maybe someday to do something. If you decided, I'm going to be a music teacher, okay, this weekend, how am I going to start turning myself into a music teacher? Well, I'm going to learn how to sing harmony above a song. I'm going to practice it 200 times this weekend. By Sunday night, I'm going to know how to sing harmony to that song. And you're not a music teacher yet, but by Monday morning, you have started to change yourself. And you're more of a music teacher than you were on Friday night. And if you just take little steps like that, you slowly turn yourself into what you're dreaming of being. And that's how you become an astronaut.
So what inspired you to become an astronaut?
The very first two people, Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, walked on the moon the summer that I was turning 10. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. I mean, how cool is that? There are two people walking on the moon. And for me, that was immensely inspiring. That's what inspired me, and it still inspires me today.
Well, I want to know what your favorite space food was.
Favorite space food? Your sinuses can never drain because there's no gravity to drain them, and your tongue is always sort of swollen, so you don't taste your food. So that's why I liked spicy food that normally brings tears to your eyes. NASA provides shrimp cocktail, but it's dehydrated shrimp cocktail. But you take a little packet of shrimp cocktail, you slide it over a little needle, it fills up your bag with water, and so you got water and shrimp cocktail, and then you shake it all around and it mixes. And now you can grab the shrimp cocktail. But the reason I like it is on the shrimp cocktail was cocktail sauce. And in the cocktail sauce was horseradish. Really strong, powerful horseradish. So when you took a bite of that, it was almost like a decongestant. And suddenly you could taste.
What is the best thing about being on the International Space Station, and what's the hardest thing?
The hardest thing is remembering everything. Imagine if somebody this afternoon taught you how a certain life preserver worked. Someone taught you that today, and then they never taught it to you again. But now 6 years from now, or 12 years from now, you're getting ready to land in your spaceship, and you have to remember, okay, if we have to do an emergency abort into the water, what did that instructor tell me 12 years ago about how to use that life preserver? Because it might be the difference between life and death. The best part about space flight was going outside for a spacewalk, because you put on your huge spacesuit, you grab onto the hatch, you pull yourself out into space, and suddenly you're just there holding on with one hand to the outside of a ship, alone in the universe. And if you look over here, the whole world is just pouring by at 5 miles a second. You go from Los Angeles to New York in 9 minutes. And if you look the other way, it's the whole universe. The blackness of the universe is right there. And you're in the universe with the world by yourself. It's magnificent.
What do you believe are the most important things that's happening on the International Space Station?
Well, the space station is a huge laboratory. We run about 200 experiments. Some of them are involved with just pure science, understanding how flame works when there's no gravity, when heat doesn't rise. But a lot of what we're doing is studying the Earth itself. Because we go around the world every 90 minutes, we go around the world 16 times a day. So we're studying changes in the atmosphere, changes in the surface. We can see short-term and long-term effects that we're having, and when a big volcano erupts, we can see and measure the changes to the world. So we're understanding the planet better. Also, you look out to the universe, we don't know what 94% of the universe is made of. We can only account for 6% of the entire universe. We don't know what it's made of. We call it dark matter and dark energy. That's because we don't know. And so we're studying the universe, we're studying all sorts of things inside the station, and we're studying the Earth itself.
Does your art inform your science, or does your science inform your art?
If I want to build this little remote mouse, think about all the invention and science that goes into that. But if you look at it, it's also beautiful. So we absolutely need both. And sometimes we focus too much on science, sometimes we focus too much on entertainment and art, but you absolutely need both. And so to be able to be a scientist, engineer, test pilot who also plays music and communicates with people through photography, to me, that's a wonderful position to be in.
How is it in space to take a bath?
Taking a bath in space is different. Early on, we thought maybe you could take a shower in space. And on the first American space station, back on Skylab, they had this little sort of cylinder where you pulled a screen around, and then there was a spigot that squirted water down onto you, and you got wet, and then you got some soap and put it on your body. But without gravity, you just end up with sort of this soapy, dirty water on your body. You're better just to get the cloth wet, get yourself a little bit wet, and then get a tiny bit of soap, and then just clean yourself off with another wet towel.
Did you have a favorite YouTube video you sent back to us?
There was one where I just opened a can of peanuts, and it was so funny. I opened a typical little can of peanuts without a camera or anything, and when I opened it, it all of a sudden looked like it had a bunch of flying maggots or insects. And I closed it again going, what the heck was that? And I opened it and I went, oh, that's just peanuts floating around. But it looked so different than I was expecting. And then I thought, you know what? If that surprised me and looked kind of weird to me, I bet you it'll look weird to everybody. Something as mundane as a can of peanuts suddenly becomes something entirely different if you change your perspective. And it almost becomes this weird artistic living thing. And it makes you change how you think about stuff. And everything on the space station is that way. Everything from moving the huge robot arm to grab a satellite right through to opening a can of peanuts.
Great words from Commander Chris Hadfield. All right, so how cool was that?
That was really, really cool. I liked the advice he gave to all the kids that wanted to be astronauts like him, to mold yourself into what you want to become.
When you think of astronaut, you just think walking on the moon and all fun and games, but it's really a lot of hard work.
There's gonna be challenges.
And that's the view from Janet's planet.